Hello, good evening. I bid you adieu. It is late and I am not going to tarry along because of that. It was a long day, a very good day, but a long day. And so here we are. But I hope that whenever you see this video that you're doing good, and I hope that tonight you get some rest, and that tomorrow, this week, is amazing for you. So I hope that you watched my YouTube video from Friday. What was that? May 24th? Yeah, I think. Yeah, okay. May 24th. It was called Digging Deep into the book of Daniel. We are going to journey together through the book of Daniel. So I hope that you will commit to this journey, to digging deep, diving into the book of Daniel, the life of Daniel, and then applying it to your life. It's going to be good. And if you did watch that video, then you know that today we are beginning, or we began, because it's 9 p.m. We began our 10-day fast. And that may look differently for you. You may do the Daniel fast of just vegetables and water. You may do a derivative of that, fruits and veggies and whatever, you feel the Lord has called you to. You may do social media, whatever the Lord leads you to do. We are going to fast for 10 days. We're going to be intentional for 10 days about what we put. I encourage you to do something that is food-based, because I want us to see in these 10 days the differences in how we feel and how we think, our perspective, because it's going to change. When we change what we put inside of our bodies, what comes out changes. So yes, Daniel chapter 1. I will put the link to that video in the bottom of this chat also, for those of you that didn't get to watch it. I think it was like 10 minutes long, so it's not that long. It was just basically my weekly rundown of what we're going to focus on for the next week. And this week is going to be the whole chapter of Daniel chapter 1 instead of just a set of verses. And then on Friday, this coming Friday, I'll do another short video on Daniel chapter 2. And then Monday, we'll go through chapter 2 together. And I'm going to prayerfully do it at 7 p.m. So I do apologize for not being on time today. Again, it was a whirlwind of a day, but I was determined not to miss it, not to put it off to tomorrow. So let's just jump in. Hi, Teresa. Let's just jump in, okay? This is during a time when Nebuchadnezzar is king of Babylon, and he has taken some people captive from Jerusalem. And it says that the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, his staff, the people that worked for him, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but they were good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. Chaldeans, I don't know. Their language, what they wanted them to know. Okay, so I think it is important for us to recognize, in the New Living Translation, it says from the tribe of Judah. these specific people, these specific Israelites were chosen from the tribe of Judah. And we know that Jesus is the Lion of Judah. So that's just significant, and it's important to note these things. And they were teaching them, and it says, and the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank. And they were trained for 3 years, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now from among those of the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. I wrote down in my ESV study Bible that they, one, were training them for a long period of time. They were teaching them for 3 years. And like we know, when you go to college, you don't just get a degree in a month. Like you can get certified in things and it doesn't take as long as it takes to get a degree. But even like an associate's degree doesn't take as long as a bachelor's, doesn't take as long as a master's degree. It takes time for you to learn what you need to learn in order to do that specific thing, to be a nurse, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer. It takes time to train your mind to do whatever it is you're going to do. So in order for them to be able to serve, now they're already equipped. They're already found to be better able than other people. Because he's like, get the ones that look good, that aren't slow to learn stuff. They need to be quick on their feet. They need to be wise, having knowledge, because these are the people who are going to be easy to train. Because we can't have nobody, pulling us down. If you're going to serve the king, you're going to have some type of, you got to be a certain type of person. You're just not going to be pulling down the reputation of the kingdom, okay? Then they changed their names, and I thought that was just interesting because first you're training me in the language. It says they might teach them the language and literature of the Chaldeans. Now you're changing my name to I guess a Babylonian name. I don't know, but you're changing my name. I'm going through this for 3 whole years. I've already been exiled. I'm already in exile because I'm an Israelite, and now I've been taken yet again to live wherever they are, to be trained. I didn't have a choice in this. I was chosen. I was brought here. And now I got to answer to a different name. So I bring all of this up for us to just think about it, because Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, all of them are people, and they have feelings, and they were going through things, and there's more to the story than just Daniel fasts and them in the fiery furnace. It's more to it than just that, okay? We all know those stories. We all know those things, but we're going to dig deep. Verse 8, but Daniel purposed in his heart, he was determined that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the staff that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into the favor and goodwill of the chief of the eunuchs. So he's saying, look, I'm not eating this. I'm not eating this stuff. I can't defile myself. I feel like that word choice is so bold. It's so just strong. It's like, I'm setting this boundary. I'm not going to do it. Even though I'm in exile, even though I'm surrounded by people I don't know, even though I'm in this situation that I didn't put myself in, even though I'm not in charge, I'm not going to do this. And it just inspired me, because I feel like, especially growing up in school, where we have that peer pressure. Now with social media, we've got the pressure to measure up and to look a certain way and to have a certain type of video and a certain type of lifestyle. There's so much pressure to do and to eat the king's delicacies. But Daniel was determined not to defile himself. I posed the question in my video from Friday, what would happen if we were determined not to defile ourselves? If we really ask ourselves that question, what would change in my life if I was determined not to defile myself? If I was determined not to settle for less than what God expects of me, than what God has for me, than what God has promised me, than what God's word says for me? What if I was determined? What if I purposed in my heart, as David did, to hold fast and to hold more important and more close to my heart, and as priority, what God expects of me than what the king or the world or a relationship or a job expects of me? He asked the chief of staff if he could be pardoned from eating this food. I think it's also interesting that that was even a conversation. Like, he could have just not ate the food, and just been like, you know what, I'm gonna go without. He could have just not brought attention to the situation and just been like, you know what, I'm not going to eat it. But he brought attention to it, saying, look, this is something that I can't do. Okay? I'm not going to have it. It reminds me, I was watching, what's the name? Survivor, with my parents, and it was a season where they were in China, and apparently at the beginning, I had missed the beginning episodes. Apparently at the very beginning, when they came into China, they had to all bow down to, I think Buddha. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me. You can go back and watch it if you want to. I don't know what season it was either, but they was in China, okay? And there was one lady who was supposed to be a contestant, a player in the game, and she refused to bow. She said, I'm not bowing. I don't care if it's for some game. I don't care if it's not for real, if it's for play. I don't care, because my Bible tells me that I'm not to bow to anyone other than Jesus Christ. Okay, so no, I'm not doing it. And so then she didn't get to go to China. She didn't get to play in the game. But that was so encouraging to me. Like, wow, she had an opportunity to win $1 million if she played this game and she beat everybody else. She could have won $1 million. But she said, you know what, that $1 million, this game, this experience is not more important to me than my relationship with my Father in heaven. And I just applaud her. I wish I knew what her name was, because I would pray for her, and I pray for her now. God bless her and keep her and prosper her, because she chose you over what the world had to offer her. It reminds me of Jesus in Matthew chapter 4, when he is in the wilderness being tempted by the enemy. The enemy, the devil, had so much to offer him, and was like, hey, I'll give you this if you just do this. That's the way it is in life. Every single day we have a choice to choose what honors the Father, or what honors self, or what honors somebody else. We either make an idol out of somebody or something or ourselves, or we choose to honor God, period. But in the wilderness, Jesus would refute the devil with the word of God every single time. And that is what we should do. We should be determined. We should purpose in our heart that we will not defile ourselves for the sake of this world. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, now he had favor. It says in verse 9 that he had favor. God gave him favor in this chief of staff's life, this person who had authority. He was in charge over all of these men, these boys that were brought here to be trained, and he had favor in his sight. And then he says, this chief of staff, this person that's supposed to hold power over Daniel, who's supposed to be an authority figure, tells him, shows vulnerability to him and say, look, I'm afraid of the king. I fear the Lord, the king, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you would endanger my head before the king. He's like, look, I can't be letting you out here doing stuff that might end up affecting me, because if you don't eat this food and then you out here looking weak and hungry, that's gonna be on me. And I can't do that, Daniel. I got favor for you. You're my homie. I've come to know you, because I don't know how much time has passed in this. You know what I'm saying? Well, this is the very beginning. So he already had favor. This is before he even ever ate the food. Okay, let's make that a point too, to realize, like, this is the very beginning. So Daniel really don't even know this man, and he already got favor. But that's the way it is when you are just a child of the Father. His favor follows you. When you follow him, his favor follows you. And the favor was on him. And he said, I'm afraid, because if you don't eat this food, then I'm going to get in trouble. So Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who eat the portion of the king's delicacies. And as you see fit, so deal with your servants. So, as you fast in these 10 days, we're going to look at our appearance, because it's going to change. You might have a little bit of, acne or something. That's going to change, because what you put in fresh veggies and fruits, or whatever the Lord calls you. Again, I'm not telling you to do exactly as I do, okay? You putting that good stuff in your body, and you stop putting the processed, the fattening, the carby, the good. I know it's good. When you stop putting that stuff in your body, then your body responds. Now, originally, you might have a little, like, rejection reaction, where it's like, oh, I gotta have it, and your body might just get out of whack for a minute. But just keep pressing on, keep putting in that good stuff. Just like the words, you may not memorize a scripture the first time you read it, but you keep on putting it in, you keep on reading it, you keep on reciting it, you keep on praying it, then that's what's gonna come out. You're gonna remember it, you're gonna commit it to memory, you're gonna write it on the tablet of your heart. And then we're going to test ourselves, okay? We're going to test ourselves and see, you know what? I hadn't been thinking as negatively these last 10 days now that I think about it. Now, sometimes it might get a little tough. You might get a little craving, okay? The enemy might get in there and start whispering like he did. He might start saying a little something to you like he did Jesus. But then what do? You do exactly as Jesus did. You refute them cravings. You refute the enemy with the word of God, because you know what the Lord has called you to, okay? He says, so he consented. It's late, I'm tired. He consented with them in this matter and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in flesh, although I don't want to be fatter, Lord, in flesh, than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacy. See, just because something belongs to somebody who got power, just because somebody that has a position, a title, a level of influence, just because of that don't mean that what they have to offer is good for you. It don't mean it's for you, okay? But sometimes we be ready and willing to accept something from somebody with a name, like a word. We don't let nobody speak a word over us if they ain't got no title, if they ain't been tried and true and faithful, and they not Bishop so-and-so from down, no. But if it's just your friend speaking a word over your life, you might not be so willing to receive that, because that proximity, that familiarity. But everything that comes from somebody with a title ain't always good for you. Daniel knew He knew. I mean, at this point, we don't even know if he knew if it was like, barbecue, chicken, was it pork chops, was it stuff off the grill? Like, we don't even know what kind of food it is. He already knew. This stuff right here is not going to do me any good. And I'm not going to be able to train well. I'm not going to be as wise. I'm not going to be able to think as clearly if I eat this food. So it alludes to, I don't know, because that ain't exactly what it's saying in the book, but this is as told by Jade Camile, okay? It makes me think that this is the way that Daniel already ate. And that's why he was already wise. He was already tuned. He already had discernment because he was already eating this way. Daniel trying to tell us something, okay? And in this day and time, we hardly know what's in the food we're eating, okay? But think about that. Dwell on that, because after these 10 days is up, you're going to have a conversation with yourself and the Lord and say, Lord, is this a lifestyle change that you're trying to affect in me? Or, where do you want me to go from here? Do you want me to go for 10 more days? Do you want me to do 20 more days? Do you want me to make this a lifestyle change? And he will lead you and he will guide you in all truth, because that's just what he does. Thus the steward took away their portion of delicacies and wine that they were able to drink, and gave them vegetables. So now, because these men who ate just vegetables and water were better looking than the ones who was eating all the king's food and drinking all that wine, they took away their food and wine. And they said, no, now all of y'all are going to eat this, because we need all of y'all to be up to par. It also makes me wonder if Daniel already knew what he was called to do in this moment. And he could not risk messing up what he was called to do by indulging in what the world had to offer him, what the king gave them. It's just something, it's some food for thought right there. As for these 4 young men, God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days, when the king had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. So now it's been 3 years. We're in verse 18, and it has been the 3 years. They've been trained. They've been eating nothing but vegetables and water. So we get caught up. We love to do a Daniel fast, okay, in the church. We love to do a Daniel fast. And even now in the secular world, people will do the Daniel fast. But this was not just a fast. He was tested for 10 days on that. But Daniel, again, it just seems to me, Daniel was already eating that way. And then after that, not just him and his homies, but everyone was eating just the vegetables and the water. And so now it's been 3 years of just veggies and water. Now we see that Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Not just some visions. Like sometimes a vision would happen. Sometimes somebody would have a dream and he could interpret it. No, it says he had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days, when the king had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Then the king interviewed them, and among them all, none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they served before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding about which the king examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers who were in all of his realm. Everybody in the whole kingdom, nobody was found like Daniel and his homies. I also think that it is just neat that the people he came in with, he came out with. Like, that is... It shows you the importance of having friends and people who are seeking the Father the way that you are seeking the Father. You may not be called to do the same thing. We know that they, it says that he found them 10 times better in all matters of wisdom and understanding. They may have served in different capacities. They may not have been able to interpret dreams and visions, but when it came to needing some guidance on some things, these were the people. People who had understanding of the way things work, of strategies and the system. These people, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Daniel, were found 10 times better. You may not be called to do the same thing, but when you are serving the Lord together, when you are seeking the Lord together and seeking the Lord on behalf of each other, that is sisterhood. That is powerful. That is amazing. Thus, Daniel continued until the first year of King Cyrus. So he finished out the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, and he served until the first year of King Cyrus. And it says in the corner over here, it says Daniel's wisdom and special abilities allowed him longevity of service in the royal court throughout the exile, and he lived into the first year of the reign of King Cyrus, who allowed the Jews to return to Israel and rebuild the temple. So that just gives you a context of, you know, what's happening here. But I'm going to close this out. Next week, we're going to do chapter 2. Friday, I'll have a short little video about chapter 2. And then Monday, we will study it out like we just did here. But I hope that even if you did not see that video before now, you ain't see this until now, whenever now is, start your 10 days. Pray and ask the Lord, does he want you to just do vegetables and water? Does he want you to do something else, a variation? Pray and let the Lord lead you. And then be obedient, because he's going to tell you what to do. And I need you to be obedient, because the Lord wants to take you to higher places. He wants to take you into places that you will not be able to go if you cannot withstand what is going to come at you. The level of pressure, the level of opposition, the level of how the enemy will attack you. And that's why this fast, I think, is going to be so important. It's going to be so pivotal for you. It is going to be a game changer, because the Lord will be able to reveal things to you, because your mind will be clear. Your heart will be clear. And as you continuously, persistently seek the Lord and determine not to defile yourself, determine that you are going to make the Lord and his will and his promise for your life and his purpose for your life the most important thing, and you will be determined not to risk that all, not to throw it all away for a sandwich, for a chip, for a job that is paying a certain amount of money, but you know that ain't what the Lord is calling you to do, for a relationship that you know you shouldn't be in, for a decision that you know you shouldn't make, whatever the case may be. These next 10 days, the Lord is going to change your life if you let him, if you lean in, if you dig in. Keep reading chapter 1 this week, because as you continue to read it, he'll just keep on bringing things to you. He'll just keep revealing things to you, and you'll be like like that whole thing about Daniel, and how it appears that like this wasn't just a spur of the moment, like, well, just test us and see if we eat vegetables how we do. No, that was already his lifestyle. He was already in tune with the Father. He already knows what he's called to do, because the discernment is just too loud. Like, you keep on reading it for yourself, and I will see you on Friday on my YouTube channel, As Told by Jade Camile, for chapter 2, and then I'll see you next Monday, and we'll study it out like we just did. Oh, and make sure you invite your sister friend to the group, okay? Tell them to watch this video, okay? Y'all have a good night.